What's up YouTube, Del here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a spicy concoction melding all of the darkness from the GX era to bring you Sacred Beast, Yubel. It also involves some Destiny heroes as well, so you're getting a little bit of everything. At the end of the video, I'll also show you a combo of how all of this kind of synergizes together in order to give you the best from every kind of section. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, we're going to dive headfirst into this profile and show you what we've got. Now keeping in mind that this is just a concept, this is something that kind of is very anime themed, as well as also keeping an eye out on the type of cards you may need for the new Yubel support coming out in February. So for the Sacred Beast, we start with the most important one, and that is the Dark Beckoning Beast. This is your main and only real normal summon of the deck. Now the reason this is so important is it is part of the combo that allows you to get, be able to revive a Fiend 0/0 from the graveyard, which is obviously what Yubel is, while also giving you the ability to search you out and start you off your combo for your Sacred Beast plays. So if you're like, okay, I'm not feeling the whole board wipe constant effect of Yubel this turn, I'm actually going to look into a bit more of going just Sacred Beast Turbo, this is what instigates it. Backing it up, we do have two Chaos Summoning Beasts. Now the reason I'm only playing two of this guy and not three is because what it adds to the deck isn't really in tune with the whole element of the Yubels. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with this one, so Dark Beckoning Beast, just so that everyone knows, is on normal summon. You get to add a Uriah, Lord of Searing Flames, a Hamon or a Raviel, or a card that specifically lists any of those in its text from the deck to the hand except itself. It also gives you the ability to conduct an additional normal summon during your main phase of a Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense in addition to your normal summon and set. The Chaos Summoning Beast has the ability to tribute this card to special summon a Uriah, a Hamon or a Raviel from the hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can banish this card from the graveyard to add a Fallen Paradise from the deck to the hand, and you can only use each effect once per turn. Now as we go through the rest of the build, you'll understand why this card is at 2 and not at 3, and again the idea is that through Dark Beckoning Beast there are routes to searching this card out, so that if you want to go down the Fallen Paradise route and if you want to go down the Sacred Beast route, you can. The last Sacred Beast that we play, or Summoning Beast, is the one Dark Summoning Beast. And again, the reason for this is because we're trying to balance the Yubel with everything else, you don't need to be having two of this guy, you can really only utilize one. Now this one has a better tribute effect because you can tribute it to special summon Uriah, Hamon or Raviel directly from the deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. However, your monsters cannot attack for the rest of this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn, and then it also has the ability to banish it from the graveyard to add a Uriah, Hamon or Raviel directly from the deck to the hand. So it's very, very cool, but the issue is it is a level 5. The ways that you would usually get it onto the board through this is you would be bringing it back from the graveyard, but because you want to save that effect, bringing it back from the graveyard from the opening of the Spirit's Gates, because you want to save that effect specifically for Yubel, that kind of element of it is less reliable. Then for the Sacred Beasts themselves, we are going with 2 Hamon, just because if you get both of these in defense, you've got an insane power attack lock, which is really, really kind of cool. But also, what you need to kind of remember is the monster you search off of the back of the Dark Summoning Beast may become your discard fodder. So that's why you still want to be playing the Uriah, search it, discard it. And then of course you've got the one Raviel, Lord of Phantasm, as well as the Shimmering Scaper. Of course, we are still playing the Uriah because you do want to utilize the Armor Tile, which you can do because you can search out the Fusion spell very easily as well. Then, of course, we are playing triple opening of the Spirit's Gates. This card is absolutely insane for the Sacred Beast deck in general, but it's great that it synergizes with Yubel as well. So when it is activated, you get to add a Uriah, Hamon, Raviel, or a monster that specifically lists any of those cards in its text from the deck to the hand. So again, that's how you get into your other Summoning Beast, should you want to. You also have the ability that once per turn you get to discard any card to special summon a Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from the graveyard. Of course, that's going to be Yubel. If you control a level 10 monster, you can add a continuous spell from the graveyard to the hand. Now, that's only going to be utilized to add back a second opening of the Spirit Gates, which can be quite useful in the grind game because it constantly gives you that resource to be able to discard or destroy or do anything you need to. The only other one that you'd want to add back will be the Cerulean Skyfire, but this one is entirely up to you whether you even play it or not. So this one is to special summon Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder, using its own procedure. You can also use face down spells you control, which is quite nice, but it's rare you're going to be summoning Hamon, Uriah or Raviel via its own effect anyway. While you control an attack position Hamon, you can negate any spell or trap effect activated by your opponent and then change one Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder you control, to defense. If a face-up Uriah, Hamon or Raviel you control leaves the field, you take no damage this turn. Now obviously it's a great little card to be having, which is why you only really need to be playing it at 1, because you can search it out very easily because it does list all 3 of the Sacred Beasts. Same for the Dimension Fusion Destruction. So this one you banish from your hand, field and or graveyard the fusion materials that are listed on a Phantom Fusion monster, and then you get to special summon said fusion monster from the extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You take no battle damage from attacks involving that monster, special summoned by this effect, and if you control Uriah, Hamon or Raviel, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. So the idea is the Armor Tile is going to become a 10k boss monster during your turn only. During your opponent's turn it becomes 0, but obviously if it's made with this, you're not going to take any damage. The chances are when you summon this, you're pretty much pushing for game anyway. And then for the final cards, for the Sacred Beasts themselves, Awakening of the Sacred Beast. I personally really like this card, especially in a build like this where you're going to burn through your life points very, very quickly, and you'll understand that as we go through it. This card is actually really important. So you get to gain the additional effects based on the number of Uriahs, Hamons or Raviels with different names that you control. If you control at least one of them, each time your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you gain life points equal to the attack of that monster. Nice. The second one, if you control 2, negate the activated effects of monsters your opponent controls, so a nice little one-sided skill drain. And then 3, any monsters sent to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead. You also have the ability that once per turn, if you control a level 10 monster, you get to add a continuous trap from your graveyard to the hand, but this is the only one you are playing. And then the final one is the One Fallen Paradise. And the reason we've gone with the One Fallen Paradise is it does massively clash with Pot of Prosperity. And the reason you're playing Pot of Prosperity is because it is just insanely important that when you're starting, because you have so many specific requirements, you kind of need to play a card like Pot of Prosperity over something like Fallen Paradise in order to do so. We are also playing an additional field spell as well, which is probably a little bit more important in this build than Paradise. So you kind of need to choose between the two. It's also something that I'm considering. You could very easily play set rotation if you wanted to, because then technically you could get Fallen Paradise and you can give your opponent the other field spell. But the other field spell is, you know, they just replace it. It's not a lockout anyway. And then for the Yubel cards, we are playing, of course, the one at Yubel, the one at Terror Incarnate, and the one Ultimate Nightmare. Now, with all of these, they are basically build-ups on one another. The idea is that you're going to get Yubel to the graveyard through different means, and I'll show you those, how you can do it as we go through it. But the idea is you get Yubel to the graveyard, you're then going to be able to bring it back with the continuous spell card, the opening of the Spirit Gates, and then you're going to be using the Destiny cards in order to control when you destroy Yubel, which will lead you to Terror Incarnate, and then Terror Incarnate during the end phase will nuke the entire board, and that's why you're going to be playing monsters that can float. Stuff like DPE is massively important. After that, if Terror Incarnate is destroyed, it moves on to the Ultimate Nightmare. Now, obviously, all of these cards cannot be normal summoned or set, and they can only be special summoned via the effects of the predecessor, which is very important. This one, none of them can be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage from battles involving this card in attack position, mainly these guys. And then if a face-up attack position card battles an opponent's monster, inflict damage equal to its attack to your opponent and destroy that monster at the end of the damage step. This one is in attack position, your opponent would take any damage that would be inflicted. And same for Yubel. So the other is you're going to put these into attack, you're going to attack, you would technically take damage, but you don't take damage, and your opponent would take it instead. The best thing about these is they are level 10s as well, so you can play the Soken Doji, I believe it is, so it's the spell card that lets you send monsters from the hand or field to the graveyard that equal level 10 to draw 2 cards, but I felt that Pot of Prosperity was a little bit better at digging for it. Now, of course, if you want to play that instead of Prosperity, you can do. It's just 2 random cards rather than 2 confirmed cards, and you don't always want to be getting these into the graveyard. Like, it doesn't mind if you open up the Yubel and then you get it to the graveyard, absolutely fine. All of these can be summoned from the graveyard off of the back of the Yubel as well, which is great. But then your other cards like your Uriah, your Hamon, and your Raviel is not as consistent as many 10s in order to kind of justify the use of that. Now leading on to the hero monsters, the first hero monster we are going to play is Elemental Hero Prisma. Now I was really going back and forth with this one onto how exactly I can get Yubel to the graveyard outside the standard Foolish Burial, possibly reasoning if you wanted to consider it as well, and then shout out to Yubel Master, who obviously on his build was using Dangerous to do that. Now the issue with using Dangerous is, yes, it was a very consistent way of doing it, but you could get one part, you couldn't get the rest. So you would send Yubel to the graveyard, great success, but you wouldn't be able to bring it back because you'd be locked into Dark Hero. So you're kind of like contradicting on what you were trying to do, which is why ultimately I went down a different route. And the route that I went down was something like Elemental Hero Prisma. Now, yes, it wouldn't actually use up your normal summon, but again, you don't ever really want to normal summon this guy. You want to be summoning off of Hero Lives. So you technically have 4 routes to it, but you mainly want to be focusing on the 3 to get to it. And that's one of the cards that is going to burn your life points down, which is why the trap card is just so much more important. So once per turn, you reveal a fusion monster from your extra deck and then send one of the fusion materials listed on that card from the main deck to the graveyard, and this card name becomes that one. So the reason that is so good is it could send Uriah, Hamon, or Raviel, but it's only going to be mainly used to send Yubel because you're going to reveal Kluger. Now, you're never actually going to summon Kluger, but it's just a way to send Yubel to the graveyard without locking yourself into Dark Hero monsters, which is very, very important. Carrying on with the rest of the hero monsters, of course, we are moving down the Destiny route of 2 Mali, 1 Plasma, and then the 1 Denier. Apologies, these are in different sleeves, but they do belong mainly in the hero deck. Now, Plasma is a very, very specific route, but it's also one of the ones where if you've already opened up a Mali or a Denier, obviously you can use them as discard fodder, and then you can use the Plasma from the deck. The very specific route to get to Plasma, you can't summon anything else that entire turn, or you can't technically special summon anything else that entire turn because you have to go through Cross Crusader. And this would only be utilized if your opponent stops absolutely everything they can in order to leave you with a Fusion Destiny. So if like the last card you play is a Fusion Destiny and you make DPE, you've normal summoned your Beckoning Beast. Beckoning Beast has been stopped with an Imperm or something. The idea is that you would go Fusion Destiny, send Mali, send Denier, summon out the Mali. You would then link the Mali off, or you can summon back the Denier, putting the Mali back to the top of the deck. Put Denier and Mali together to make your Cross Crusader. Cross Crusader brings back the first Mali. You would then pop that Mali, search out the Plasma, and then you would banish the Mali to summon out the second Mali, and then you would tribute off your Cross Crusader, your Dark Beckoning Beast, and then of course your Mali in order to summon out the Plasma. So it's a very kind of like fallback route, and you do play a lot of cards that your opponent will attempt to try and Ash Blossom, so it's not that much of a worry to save the Fusion Destiny for last. Speaking of which, of course, triple Fusion Destiny, pretty straightforward on that one. And then, of course, triple Hero Lives, just to give you to your Elemental Hero Prisma. After you've used it, obviously, of course, the rest aren't going to be as useful at all, so they're just free discard fodder, send fodder for your Uriahs, your Hormons, and everything else. The final card for that particular element is, of course, Foolish Burial, because you can send a Mali, but you can also mainly be sending a Yubel. Then moving on to the generic support cards that are going to help you either protect your board from Yubel's the Terra Incarnate's destruction, or being able to just give you a little bit more. So shout out to Kyron on this one, so genius kind of idea. Mound of the Bound Creator. We are playing Terraforming because it is important for us to get to it, but of course set rotation could be just as good, because if you give your opponent a field spell, not only will it stop them being able to evenly you, it will also stop them being able to imperm you as well. So I am highly considering putting set rotation in here, but the idea would be is you'd give your opponent Mound of the Bound Creator, and you'd probably take Fallen Paradise more times than not if you were to do it that way, but you can very easily give yourself Mound and give your opponent Fallen Paradise. So level 10 or higher monsters on the field cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects in general. That was the real big thing that I needed to try and figure out with this deck, and that's why Kyron helped out massively, is a lot of card effects, say, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, but Terra Incarnate is your own card effect, meaning that you need to be able to protect from destroying yourself. And the best card that we could find was Mound of the Bound Creator, because what it would allow you to do is it would allow you to protect your Hamons, your Raviels, and your Uriahs when they are on the board. You ideally want to keep them on the board, which is why you set up an attack clock with the Hamon. Yes, of course, Yubel can't be destroyed by card effect, but it means that they still need to try and get past a Uriah before they can get a Hamon before they can get to anything else. On top of that, if a level 10 monster or a level 10 or higher monster on the field destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controlled the destroyed monster takes 1,000 damage. When this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add the Divine Monster from the deck to the hand. Now, the reason that could be quite cool is technically, if your opponent was to destroy this, you could search out a Ra Sphere Mode for the next turn, and you just go, okay, cool, Sphere Mode, boom, clear that board off. But you can see why this is kind of a cool card for the deck, just because it means that with your Uriahs, Hamons, and everything else, they're protected by the Terra Incarnate Destruction. On top of that as well, it'll also allow you to protect the Armatar. Very nice. The Fallen Paradise sadly only protects from your opponent's card effects, not your own. Otherwise, Fallen Paradise would have been the most perfect card to use. When you're looking at your link monsters and everything else in the extra deck as I go through it, they're ideally monsters that are either going to have their own built-in float abilities, or they're monsters that are going to be able to tag out, leave the field, and then return at a certain point. So for the final cards, of course, True or Pot of Prosperity, like I said, it does clash with Fallen Paradise. You could take this out if you wanted to, as I mentioned, for the level 10 draw card, but I don't think it's as consistent, and I feel that the idea is what you want to do is you want to open up Prosperity, activate it, look at the top 6 cards, get one of the cards you're missing for your combo or anything else you might need to, play your combo out without needing to draw any further from that point on, and then the remaining cards in there are just going to be discard fodder. And then the other card that will pretty much put you down to 2,000 life points is the Piri Rizzi map. Now the reason I went with this is because I wanted 6 copies, or technically as many copies as I possibly could, to get hold of my Dark Beckoning Beast. I looked at Small World, but then Small World required you to have an additional card in the hand, and it would burn through a bit of resource. So at the start of main phase 1, you add a monster with 0 attack from your deck to the hand, but you halve your life points. After adding it to your hand until the end of the next turn after this card was activated, you cannot activate the added monster's effects of the effect monster with its name until you normal summon that monster or a card with its name, which is very easy to do because that's what you want to be doing with the Dark Sacred Beast. Now, again, I did look at other cards. I was like, oh, Jack in the Hand could work. But then I was like, nope, I remembered Dark Beckoning Beast, annoyingly, is a level 2. You could play something like Allure of Darkness if you wanted to as an additional draw card. But with Prosperity, the idea is that you want to be able to get as many options as possible, not just 2 random cards that may or may not help you. So that's something that I've definitely looked into quite a bit, and that is why the trap card is just as important, because with the trap card you're able to start regaining some of the life points, which is again something that's really kind of cool to see off the back of Prosperity if you want to go down that route. So that's it for the main deck. I'm now going to move on to the extra deck, and then we will show you the combo at the end of the video as well. So for the extra deck, of course, we've got the one Armitar, the Chaos Phantom. So this is just your all-out boss monster for the Sacred Beasts. You've got your Kluger, which of course I've told you this is only in here to be revealed. You're never going to summon it unless you want to spice it up a little bit more and start adding in Elemental Hero Neos and heck, maybe even Neos Fusion if you wanted to. Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, pretty straightforward and simple on this one. So like I said, this one is there for the float ability. What you'll do is during your opponent's turn is you'll activate DPE, you'll destroy one of your opponent's cards, and then you'll destroy Yubel. So that during the Yubel will then bring out Terror Incarnate, and then Terror Incarnate will destroy the entire board during the end phase, and that's where DPE can then use this effect to float back. So you're trying to protect yourself as much as possible. Alternatively, you could look into Dangerous. I just felt the more and more, like as good as it was to get Yubel to the graveyard, I still felt that the majority of the time I probably want to be activating Fusion Destiny to go to DPE, and if you went to it through Dangerous, it was a little bit harder to kind of get to the cards you needed. It was a lot harder to try and get to DPE without getting to a direct polymerization, and it did just become dangerous to send Yubel for the follow-up turn in order to then make a Plasma, and I felt that it wasn't really necessary. For the XYZs, we've got the one Sky Typhoon. Yes, I know it negates the activated effects of Uriah, not the Uriah series, Hamon and Raviel, but the idea is it's just one of them ones where you can turn a Dark Sacred Beast that's a 0/0 into a 2900 boss monster with a bounce and a skill drain. And then for your rank 10s, of course, you've got your Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon, Juggernaut, Libel, Gustav Max, and your Rail Cannon Superdora. So obviously Superdora has that built-in ability that can protect itself, or any other card basically, that is unaffected by all card effects except its own for the rest of the turn or until the end of the turn, which is really important again for the Yubel Terror Incarnate. You've got Libel, which is just one of the ones where if you need to, you've got Gustav Max to give it a decent 2k burn for time, and then work your way up to a Libel, which can hopefully clear off the rest of the board and everything else you need to. We've then got the one Cross Crusader. Now, as I explained, to actually play this and utilize it at its max potential, you will need to be able to not special summon any other monsters except hero monsters. Now, it does specifically say you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect, which is why the Sacred Beast is not that much of an issue, because you're only ever going to normal summon it, the Dark Beckoning Beast. But it also means you will never be able to special summon your Sacred Beast that turn. So this is one of them fallback ones, like I mentioned, where you've gone, okay, normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast, and your opponent's gone Imperm, and you've gone, okay, activate Sacred Spirit Gates, and they've gone Ash to stop you searching. So you've burnt out 2 hand traps already. You go, right, okay, cool. Fusion Destiny, send Mali, send Denier, summon out DPE. So at the very least, you've got DPE, but then from that point on, you can already, as I've explained, build up the board, get Cross Crusader, search out a Plasma, and then you're going to be summoning down your Plasma with a DPE. So you've burnt out 2 of your opponent's hand traps, and then you're setting up a pop and a negate from technically 3 cards. So you've still got 2 more cards to fall back on. And then we've got the Pit Knight sisters, I would suppose. The reason for the Pit Knights is for the pure fact that if they're just destroyed during the end phase and during the standby phase, they will come back to the board. So they're just cards that will float around. They can help you in certain situations. If you were going to cut anything, I'd cut Philly. I'd probably go for a second Earl, to be honest, but entirely up to you. SP Little Knight, just because it can tag out and run away. IP Masquerena, just to give you that ability to get into SP Little Knight. Proxy F Magician, I thought this was kind of a cool option because not only can it allow you to technically fuse into a DPE if you do have, like if you activated Fusion Destiny and you were to go down a dangerous route because you were playing this, it would then mean that if you were to make Proxy F Magician prior to that, you'll be able to have the ability to fuse the monsters remaining on the field, so like a Mali plus your Dangerous, to go into a DPE. But it's mainly here for when you get Uriah, Hamon, and Raviel on the board. You can use this effect to fuse all 3 of those together and then summon out your Armator. So, kind of a cool option, but you just have flexibility in the extra deck. It's one of the ones that can very easily be banished off of the back of Prosperity. Then got the 1 Almirage, and then of course the 1 Relinquish. So, this one's really down to if you are finding the environment you're taking this deck to. A lot of people forget the zones they're putting their cards into because they don't even expect this. This can actually be a game winner. Now, obviously, it's only got 2 targets, like 1 monster, but 2 targets in the main deck, and that is, of course, your 2 copies of the Chaos Summoning Beast. But like I said, it's so easy to search this, summon it, get it to the board, bring it back from the graveyard, turn it into a Relinquish Anima can be massively helpful. Almirage is pretty straightforward and simple on this one because there will be times where you normal summon your Dark Beckoning Beast and you need to get a legal target in the graveyard for your Chaos Summoning Gates, so you just link it off into Almirage. Other cards you consider are Dark the Dark Charmer, Selene, and Access Code because you do have a very nice route to upgrade that. You could look into something like Fenrir for the main deck. You could try and make the deck a little bit more meta balanced if you wanted to play more hand traps and everything else, but the space is very, very tight because you are mixing these 3 Dark Engines in order to get you the outcome that you need. Now, obviously, when we get the new Yubel support coming out in February or the new year, the deck will get a little bit better. You'll change out the way you're going to play this. But for now, we're just going to rock and roll with what we've got because I do feel this is a very, very fun deck. And I like the idea of just playing massive homage to the dark side of GX era. I feel like the only dark cards it's not really missing is the Advanced Crystal Beasts, Dark Cyber Dragons, and Dark Worlds. So, still has very cool representation. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to show you the combo of how this deck can utilise together. Yes, this is a 3-card combo and it is a relatively specific 3-card combo, but this is just to kind of show you how you can meld all of the elements together. Each of the individual elements will work out just as well for themselves. There is the standard 2-card Summoning Sacred Beast combo as well, which I've shown you many times before, but the idea is it's your Dark Beckoning Beast plus access to Chaos Beast, the Dark Summoning Gates, or the Summoning Beast. So you've got loads of different options there. Unfortunately, the Hero Lives is very specific, and so is Fusion Destiny. But I'll take you through the combo so you can kind of see how it works. You can see that I've put the Piri-Rizi map here because this can also act as a pseudo route to your Dark Beckoning Beast. You'll still have 2 additional cards that you'll be playing around with, and you'll have the options of stuff like Pot of Prosperity and everything else. So, let's start off with Hero Lives, as that is the first card you're going to want to be going to, because if you don't go to Hero Lives first and you normal summon a monster, Hero Lives becomes dead. So make sure you don't do that. You're then going to activate the Hero Lives. This is of course going to special summon out your elemental hero Prisma at the cost of half your life points. Big sad. Then you're going to use your elemental hero Prisma to reveal your Kluger in the extra deck. This will then allow you to send Yubel from the deck to the graveyard. Woo! First part done. So that goes to the graveyard there. You're then going to normal summon your Dark Beckoning Beast. You're going to use this effect to add you the gates. And then what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to activate the gates in order to add you or search you your Dark Summoning Beast. Now, of course, you want to be saving the discard effect of this, which is why you go for your Dark Summoning Beast rather than your Chaos Summoning Beast. The idea is that you're going to use your additional normal summon from the Dark Beckoning Beast to tribute off either the Prisma if you want to, or the Beast. It doesn't make much of a difference. The idea is that you're then going to use the Dark Summoning Beast effect to tribute it off, and this is going to allow you to special summon out Hamon. The reason you'd go for Hamon is that does give you the ability as a nice little attack lock, because it means your opponent can only attack the Hamon, so it can't attack directly the Prisma. You'll then use the graveyard effect to your Dark Summoning Beast to banish it in order to add you a Sacred Beast from the deck to the hand. So you can go for something like your Uriah, you can go for another Hamon, you can go for Raviel. It really is entirely up to you. This is just to give you the discard effect for the opening of the Spirit Gates. And one massive thing you need to remember is you need to use that effect to bring back the Yubel first, because if you activate the Fusion Destiny, you cannot special summon monsters except Dark Hero monsters. Sad days. So you're going to activate the opening Spirit Gates, you're going to ditch the Uriah. Now obviously if you do have the additional 2 cards in the hand, you can choose not to actually discard the Uriah, but you're just going to be putting Uriah in the graveyard as a fusion material for later on in the plays anyway. Now you're going to activate your Fusion Destiny. This one's going to be pretty straightforward and simple on that one. You're going to send your Mali from the deck to the graveyard, and of course you're going to send your Denier. So this is going to give you instant access to your DPE, and now it's entirely up to you on where you'd want to stop. Now, if you wanted to, you could link off the Hamon and you could link off the Prisma. If you had another way to get an additional extender to the board, again, you would have had additional link fodder, and that's when you can go into something along the lines of your Pit Knight Earl if you want to. But as this board currently stands, if you wanted to push a little bit further, you could bring back your Mali, but the only thing you're really going to be doing here is you'd bring back the Mali. You've already special summoned Yubel and you've already special summoned the Hamon, so you're not going to be, and even Prisma, so you're not going to be able to utilize the effect of your Cross Crusader. So the only thing you'd really be doing is you'd be summoning out a Mali for the sake of summoning out a Mali. So for now, what's really good is you can leave both your Mali and your Deny in the graveyard, so you've got fallback for the next turn. Not to mention you still have your 2 additional cards in the hand, so these can also be used as discard fodder to reactivate the gates by bringing back a Yubel if you wish to, but you could also bring back your Dark Beckoning Beast as well. So what you're going to do here is you're going to pass your turn, and then you've got the ability of very easily going DPE effect. DPE would destroy Yubel. Yubel would summon out your Terror Incarnate. Now keeping in mind, when you activate the ability to summon out the Terror Incarnate will nuke your board during the end phase. You will lose your Hamon and you will lose your Prisma. But the idea of activating DPE will be after the battle phase. You're not really going to want to do this prior to the battle phase. You're going to want your opponent to have to skip their battle phase because they can't get into the Uriah or they can't get past the Hamon. And then you go, right, okay, well, I don't need to destroy Yubel. I can actually just leave it on the board. If you do get into a position where your opponent's like, okay, cool, I'm going to have to just wall up a little bit, then you can go, okay, cool, let's go for DPE, destroy Yubel, summon out Terror Incarnate, effect Terror Incarnate in the end phase, boom, boom, boom. DPE's effect will trigger to come back, and then you draw for turn, DPE's effect comes back, and then you've got a very good fodder because straight away you could destroy the Terror Incarnate. This would then allow you to go into your final form, the Ultimate Nightmare, which is very nice, destroy one of your opponent's monsters, and then you've also got the ability of being able to discard a card and then bring one back. Now obviously keeping in mind the big kind of contradiction that the Yubels have is they're all like, okay cool, we're going to destroy an opponent's board, but we want to attack our opponent as well. So it's kind of like a lot of back and forth, but the idea is that after you've done this, you've refreshed your board, you've got into the final Nightmare, you've also got the ability to discard a card, bring back anything. Yes, you can bring back the Dark Beckoning Beast, it's not really going to get you much further because it has to be on normal summon, annoyingly. But then there are other routes you can play. So of course you've got your Mali, can summon itself back. You've then got the, banish the Mali, summon the Mali from the deck. You've got Deny to put the Mali back from the banished zone to the top of the deck. Then you've got the ability to start linking off. Now again, Cross Crusader won't be able to happen because you've summoned out the Ultimate Nightmare, but you still have loads of plays to keep in mind. So you've got the ability to discard, bring back fodder, haven't even conducted your normal summon yet, and you're ideally going to be pushing in for game. The other good thing, or the reason that you might want to stick around with the Yubel and the Terror Incarnates is for the fact that they're pretty decent levels. So I'm just going to take the Terror Incarnate. I think Terror Incarnate's a 12? 11, and then obviously the Ultimate Nightmare is a 12 as well. So you can activate the effect of Spirit Gaze, bring back Yubel, and if you're able to get a Sacred Beast to the board, of course that's your rank 10, Gustav Max, Libel, you name it. So there's a couple of different options. I just wanted to kind of show you what you could do and how you can circle through the Yubel cards very easily, and that's one way to do it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a couple of insights into how the deck can function. It is definitely designed as a concept deck and a fun deck rather than a, I'm going to go and topple the meta with this deck, because unfortunately with the amount of cards you are trying to use, it is definitely a homage to the GX Dark era. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.